UFC Fight Night 166 on ESPN Plus 24. Raleigh Blaydes versus JDS just wrapped up last night. I spent all night watching it. I was up until 4 a.m. It was a great night of fights and a great night of predictions for myself, if I do say so. I'm just going to rub this little bit off my shoulder right now because I did very well. We're going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event, giving our reaction and breakdown of every single fight, starting with Herbert Burns versus Nate Landwehr. Beautiful KO by Herbert Burns with a knee up the middle while Nate Landwehr was trying to pressure him against a cage. Amazing job. People were shitting on me for picking Herbert Burns. People were telling me that Nate Landwehr was this beast. And I'll be honest with you, I started to doubt myself because at the weigh-ins, the only person getting cheers was Nate Landwehr, which made no sense to me. Okay? I picked Herbert Burns to win. I saw his resume over at 1FC. He's fought some good guys. You know, he's been in big promotions. He's fought some good talent. This isn't a guy coming up on fucking Cage Warriors and going 10-2. Like, this is a real guy right here. Beat Timothy Natsukian, who's the guy that beat Eddie Alvarez. Herbert Burns is no slouch, boys, and I picked him to win. He got the job done. Nice little underdog for myself. I'm glad I picked him to win. Nate Landwehr is not bad. Don't get me wrong, Nate Landwehr is still a beast. Herbert Burns is just more of a beast. 10-2. Glad to have him in the UFC featherweight division. Maybe we can do a Herbert Burns versus Sean Woodson or something along those lines. I would love to see that fight. Sean Woodson 1-0 in the UFC. Herbert Burns 1-0 in the UFC. UFC 250 Brazil. Burns versus Woodson. Amazing stuff. Brett Johns versus Tony Gravely. Great fight. This one got fight of the night, and I understand why. A lot of people are saying that it should have gone to Montel Jackson. I disagree with you guys. Because Brett Johns, Tony Gravely, the point of fight of the night is not just how crazy it is, but are both guys doing things. Tony Gravely had his moments in that fight. The only moments that Felipe Colares had in the fight against Montel Jackson were when he caught a case of Dustin Poirier syndrome and just kept pulling guillotines against the cage. Other than that, Brett Johns versus Tony Gravely was the most back and forth war there was. An absolute grappling delight to watch, I'll be honest with you. A lot of grappling fights, people say that I don't appreciate the grappling because I shit on things, which we'll get to in the Sarah McMahon breakdown. Don't you worry. When there's grappling fights like that, I love them, man. Absolute technicality from Brett Johns. Gets back in there, gets a big win, rights the wrongs of his UFC career so far with losses to Aljamain Sterling and Pedro Munoz. He's back in the mix. Brett Johns with a huge win. Glad to see it happen. Moving on. Sarah McMahon versus Lina Landsberg. Yeah. I mean, Sarah McMahon took Lina Landsberg down, and sometimes in women's divisions, they just don't know what to do. On top or on bottom, to be honest with you. And Sarah McMahon laid in half guard pretty much for the entire fight, I'll be honest with you. And Lina Landsberg just kind of sat in half guard off bottom. Neither were trying anything. They were both just holding onto the position they were in. I wouldn't have minded to see some stand-ups at some point because that was a complete stalemate on the ground and Sarah McMahon was just on top of her. But either way, Sarah McMahon gets the win. Good job. I predicted Brett Johns to win. I predicted Herbert Burns to win. I didn't predict Sarah McMahon to win. I thought the layoff was going to be a bit too much and she was going to get caught by something from Lina Landsberg. Silly me. Sarah McMahon gets the good win. Fair enough. She laid on Lina Landsberg for the entire fight and I almost fell asleep on multiple occasions. The next fight woke me up. Montel Jackson versus Felipe Colares. Told you, boys. Told you. Montel Jackson's a beast. He really is. He's a monster at bantamweight. He came into the UFC, took a fight with Ricky Simone in his debut. That's a tough fucking test against Ricky Simone, man. Lost that fight by decision, but since then, he's taken on some big wins against Andre Sukumtar, which isn't the best, but it's a good win. Against Brian Kelleher by submission in the first round, which is a bit of a better win. Brian Kelleher is a bit of a veteran. And now Felipe Colares just lost. He was 9-1. Montel Jackson was 8-1. Montel Jackson took the runs. He took it. He took it off Felipe Colares. This was a contender fight. Who's going to go forward? Who's going to be left behind? Montel Jackson goes forward. Great performance. I knew he'd get it done. Phenomenal. There were many times in that fight I thought it could have been finished. But credit to Felipe Colares. The only reason I don't think this got fight of the night, as I said before, was because Colares wasn't really doing much back. So I hope Montel Jackson got a performance bonus. Or just an easy $5,000. You know what, Dana White? Like, just like, you don't have to give out the 50s. Like, maybe just break down, hey, here's an extra $1,000. Go enjoy your night for that performance. I hope there's that kind of backstage checks being handed out, to be honest with you. Because Montel Jackson didn't need to go as hard as he did. He could have coasted a decision. But he was looking for a finish every opportunity that came his way. Beautiful performance from Montel Jackson. I'd love to see him versus the winner of Sean O'Malley versus Jose Alberto Quinones. Or him versus the winner of Andre Ewell versus the person that he's fighting, that I can't quite remember the name of. But that would be a great fight as well, especially if it's Andre Ewell. Great fights to make in the bantamweight division. Justine Kish versus Lucy Pudilova. Sorry. Fucking hell, sorry. I just had flashbacks of the fight. Oh my god, that was the worst thing I've ever seen in my fucking life. I'm not joking with you. That was the worst thing I've ever seen in my fucking life. McMahon versus Landsberg was better. And that's only because of McMahon's ass. That's the only reason it topped it. But to be honest with you, Justine Kish, Lucy Pudilova. I couldn't. It was so funny. It was entertaining almost. Like, it was just the worst display of martial arts I've ever seen. And Justine Kish is 7-2. I don't get it, man. I really don't get it. Like, I could hear Bisping on the commentary trying to say, like, this is great strategy from Justine Kish, and they were trying to sugarcoat the terrible, terrible display of martial arts that we were watching. But everyone at home knew what we were watching. An absolute disgrace on television, and it should never have been on the card in the first place. Lucy Pudilova has now lost 4 in a row. Cut her from the UFC. After that performance especially, I don't care if I'm heartless. Cut her from the UFC. I got that fight wrong as well. Pudilova lost the fight. But I did get Montel Jackson right. So far, I believe I am 3-2. Moving on. Arnold Allen versus Nik Lentz. Close fucking fight, boys. Close fucking fight. Arnold Allen wins again. It was close, though. I think the fight went to Arnold Allen because he was landing the cleaner shots. I saw some total strike numbers in the middle of the fight that kind of made me worry because they were leaning the way of Nik Lentz. But Nik Lentz was landing stuff on the shoulders. He was landing glancing shots off the arms, landing kicks on the arms, kicks on the shoulders. Arnold Allen, when he was landing, he was popping Nik Lentz's head back and rocking him. You know, like that was the difference in the fight, I feel, for Arnold Allen to get the clear decision win, was the technicality and the cleanliness of his striking. He really put on a performance against Nik Lentz. And I'll be honest with you, Nik Lentz surprised me. He's very good. And he's a big featherweight as well. And Arnold Allen surprised me as well, because after the fight I realised, oh wait, why is his hand covered in ice? Oh, he broke his hand in the first round. And he still won the fight against Nik Lentz coming down in weight. Great performance from Arnold Allen. I said in the middle of the fight that something's wrong with his hand. And sure enough, after the fight, he's got it in a massive cast of ice almost. And it tells the story. I mean, there was a moment when I noticed he wasn't quite throwing his left hand. And I was like, oh shit. Or his right hand even. I was like, oh shit, something's happened. And Arnold Allen soldiered through. Got the job done. Improves to 7-0. Dominant performance. I say we rebook him versus Josh Emmett as soon as they're both healthy. Because that would be the best fight to make next. It was supposed to be the fight that happens. It's not happening. Arnold Allen took the replacement and won. Give him the reward of rescheduling a fight with Josh Emmett. I feel like that's only fair. But a great performance from Arnold Allen. And for Nik Lentz, I don't really know what's next for Nik Lentz, to be honest with you. But maybe Nik Lentz versus Andre Fili at featherweight. I'm just making stuff up. That's a great fight to happen even. Nik Lentz versus Andre Fili, sign me up every day of the week. That's a great fight. Arnold Allen, another big win over a fight he, business-wise, shouldn't have even taken because it's a big risk to take on short notice. Got the job done. Nik Lentz had a good performance, but Arnold Allen was just a little bit cleaner, a little bit more precise, a little bit more accurate, and he got the job done over Nik Lentz. Great performance from Arnold Allen, especially with a broken hand. That's impressive. And now he's got another 6 months at TriStar. So he's going to come back even better, and that is dangerous for a man who's already 7-0. Very dangerous. Bevon Lewis versus Daquan Townsend. I credit Daquan Townsend for trying to land some sort of damaging blow, but Bevon Lewis, I told you this in my prediction. First of all, I predicted Arnold Allen to win. I predicted Bevon Lewis to win, and you know how I said he was going to win? Cage control. That's all Bevon Lewis does. I don't know why they're putting him in good positions on cards. It's all he does is cage control. That's all he does. I watched him versus Darren Stewart. That was all he did throughout the entire fight, was try and get cage control. Against Uriah Hall, it was a little bit better, but he suffered, and he lost. So I guess his mindset tells him to just go back to cage control. He beats Daquan Townsend. That's 2 losses in a row for Daquan. He never won in the UFC. Cut him, 18-9 anyway, that's not a great record. Get rid of him, and Bevon Lewis is on thin fucking ice. And they need to punish him, because that was a fucking... Honestly, some of these prelim fights were great. Allen versus Lentz was fun. Montel Jackson Colares was amazing. Brett Johns Tony Gravely was amazing. Herbert Burns Nate Landwehr. But these other ones on the prelims fucking shit the bed. Like, they ruined it for everyone. But look, Bevon Lewis gets a big win at middleweight. I don't know who I want to see him fight next, to be honest with you. A middleweight coming off a win, I guess, would be the best answer. I'm not too sure what they want to do with Bevon Lewis. I'm not really interested in seeing him fight, to be honest. That was really... He's good at controlling against the cage. I'll give him that. He's really good at controlling against the cage. Tough for Daquan Townsend to have to fight a style like that, but Jesus Christ. That was Holm versus Pennington 2.0. Bevon Lewis gets the win. Moving on to the main card. Normally I say this is where things get interesting, but the first three people on the main card probably didn't belong there. They should have been on the prelims, and Arnold Allen and Montel Jackson should have been on the main card, and Herbert Burns versus Nate Landwehr probably should have been on the main card as well. Moving on. Jamahal Hill had a great performance though. I shit on him because he was on the main card instead of Arnold Allen, and I shouldn't have done that. I predicted him to win though, because I knew he was going to win, because Darko Stojic, people from different countries in Eastern Europe have been telling me that Darko Stojic is the best man alive and he's going to be champion, whilst he's 0-2 in the UFC. Couldn't beat Kennedy Nzechukwu, okay? I know there was groin shots, but Jesus Christ, that's not a man that's going to be champion anytime soon. He's 0-3, light heavyweight, cut him from the UFC. He's 3 in a row lost. We need standards. Jamahal Hill gets a big win, establishes himself in a division. Great performance from Jamahal Hill. And if you want to give Jamahal Hill a great fight, see what Ovin St. Prue's up to. You know, that chin's always waiting to go to a contender. Either Jamahal Hill gets the win over OSP, or OSP just Von Prue chokes him on the ground. But that's a great fight to happen next. And Darko Stojic, see what the Bellator light heavyweight people are saying, you know. Maybe they'll take him in. But right now, I don't want to see him in the UFC. That's 3 in a row. He's unranked. We got to have standards. Move him out the door. Jamahal Hill gets a big win. Hannah Cifers versus Angela Hill. I just picked Angela Hill. I know Hannah Cifers is 10-4, and she has wins in the UFC. But there's just certain girls that throw like they want to hurt you. And Angela Hill was one of those girls. And I knew that this was going to happen. Hannah Cifers is a girl, very timid in life. And when she's in the cage, she just doesn't look like she's throwing to hurt anyone. You know? There's certain times in the female divisions where you can just see something in a woman. Like some manliness to her. Like a Nunez. Throws punches like that. Like she's really trying to fucking hurt you. Angela Hill has some of that gene in her. She has some of those genetics. And I picked her to win. She got the job done. 2 Hills in a row on the main card. Great performances from the Hill family. I don't know if they're related, but it's a weird coincidence, you know. Jordan Espinoza versus Alex Perez. I picked Espinoza. Perez gets a submission. Great submission. Von Prue choke, as I just mentioned. I believe. They said it was an arm triangle. I'm not buying it. It was more of a Von Prue choke, right? I think the only reason they're saying it was an arm triangle was because... I don't know. I feel like that's a mistake that they made. Because that didn't look like an arm triangle to me. He was still in a half guard. He didn't have his arm tucked against his head or anything like that. It didn't seem tight enough for an arm triangle. It seemed like a Von Prue choke. Or a Von Flue choke, sorry. I call it Von Prue because... Over St. Prue is the only guy that really gets him. The Von Perez choke. We'll just name a new choke for it. The Von Perez choke. Big win for Alex Perez at flyweight. Interesting fighter. I believe he should maybe take on either Hussier Formiga and take a big jump up the rankings, which might be stupid, so maybe don't do that. Or take on a guy like Alejandro Pantoja. Alejandro Pantoja versus Alex Perez. Great fight to happen. Alejandro Pantoja coming off a big win over Matt Schnell in the first round by KO. Alex Perez coming off a big win against Jordan Espinoza in the first round by submission. That's an interesting matchup. Alex Perez versus whoever I just said. Alejandro Pantoja. There we go. Moving on to the co-main event. Rafael Dos Anjos versus Michael Chiesa. I picked Chiesa to win. People call me crazy. They said RDA is going to beat the shit out of him. I said no, he's not, because Michael Chiesa's huge, and that's going to be shown in this fight. Rafael Dos Anjos lost. He is being... I don't understand where the narrative of he was too big to compete at 155 came from. Because that isn't a narrative, let's be real. He's not too big to compete at 155. There's a difference, and I said this in my immediate reaction. Chiesa moved up because he couldn't make the weight. Dos Anjos moved up because he didn't want to make the weight. And that's the difference. And then Blaydes KO'd JDS. Not really much else to say. He's not going to get a title shot. That's just the way things go. Goodbye.